Hi, I'm Jessica Amir for the Finance News Network. Joining me from Lithium Explorer Lake Resources is Managing Director Steve Promnitz. Hi Steve, welcome back.
Great to be here.
So congratulations, you've just announced a major milestone in a key, tightly held, world-class lithium province. What does it mean for shareholders?
It is a major announcement, and why it's important is that we'd actually picked these areas up 2 years ago, back when Argentina was a bit of a no-go destination, so it wasn't a focus. It was before the real lithium boom. Unfortunately, the province has had a few issues it's had to deal with their properties, getting them resolved. Essentially, we've been frozen out for 2 years. The fact that we've actually got this agreement signed with the province means that we've now got confirmation of the tenure, and so now we go through our last process to actually get down on the ground. And the good part about it is it's 45,000 hectares right amongst the majors. It's a very small group of people, very select. We're inside the tent now, and it's looking pretty promising for the future.
So Steve, the leases seem to be located around the border of the Salt Lake. Does that make it less interesting?
First of all, the majors are in the middle of the Salt Lake anyway. But secondly, when we went there 2 years ago, we specifically targeted the margins of these salt lakes. Because what happens, they're fault bounded, and that's where you'll get an aquifer extending out and possibly some really good trap sites to go and drill. And it's interesting that since then, some of the players there are actually targeting those things. So we're going out underneath alluvial cover. All of the resources that are being currently developed, they're all spreading out to the margins looking for these things. We were just ahead of the curve there 2 years ago, so that's going to be our target.
And moving to another lithium project at Kachi, things seem to be going a little bit slower there. Just tell us what's happening.
So we put a rig on there in November. We were going just fine before the Christmas break. Perversely, we've actually had issues with exactly the horizon we're after. When you're drilling lithium brines in a salt lake, you want to get nice sandy horizons, brine in them. So we've intersected that. But it was a combination of the rig and change in shift and what have you. We're not able to get any samples out of it. So we've changed rigs. We've got a rotary rig there now. We've got another one starting in the next couple of days. And so with 2 rigs there, we're hoping to get some results out. Somewhere in the next couple of months, we'll see some decent results and then we'll be back on track. It was a bit of a shame right in the first few holes, but at least we're actually finding the horizons we want.
And Steve, of course, junior companies are always asked about money, but what's happening for you in the space?
Obviously, we're drilling at the moment. That consumes money. It's interesting that our particular situation, we've got a number of options coming due this calendar year. Just in the coming month, we've got a whole bunch of 5% options. They're deeply in the money. So obviously, as they come to expiry, people are going to convert those. And then as we look over the whole year, we've got somewhere between $8 and $9 million just out of the conversion of options as they expire. On top of that, we've got some pretty exciting projects there, some scale, so I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue.
And Steve, there's been a lot of oversupply fears and rumours. Is this analyst spin or are these concerns justified?
It's always hard to know because we're forecasting, but it's very interesting to note that if you spend any time in China, it's very hard to imagine that there's actually oversupply issues. We're seeing cars coming out that don't have batteries. We're seeing people who use small products here, even in Australia. They can't get their lithium battery products for their handheld devices. It's always possible, of course, but it's interesting that every time a major has come out and said, we're going to deliver, there's not an oversupply, there's not an undersupply issue, they've never delivered on those time frames. They've always taken longer, and honestly, the demand is stratospheric. So time will tell, but I suspect this is just a bit of a shake-up in the market, and then we'll see it take off again.
Steve, you're of course one of the largest landholders in Argentina. Is scale really a differentiator?
Well, we think it is, and I continually get that supported when I go to China, to Korea, to Japan. Why? We're seeing Ganfeng, we're seeing CATL and the other majors in the battery space out there doing IPOs raising billions of dollars. So clearly they're interested in the battery space, there's demand there. On top of that, what does that demand mean? They want to see security of supply, and security of supply is becoming a major issue. So when you want security of supply, you go to people that have scale, that have big land holdings, that have projects that are going to be producing for 10, 20 years. That's what people are after. We set this thing up a couple of years ago for scale, and as we're seeing the whole sector develop, I think that's the right space to be in.
And Steve, of course, traders are really enjoying your share price movement of late. Where to next?
Look, we've been at 30 cents. On the back of some of this news, there's no reason why we shouldn't go there. But looking forward, it's interesting that where we are in Huhui, all of the majors next to us have market caps that are 20, 40 times more than us. So I think there's plenty of potential upside, and that's just on one project. We have another 3.
Well, Steve Promnitz, congratulations on the announcement, and thank you so much for your time.
It's always a pleasure. Cheers.